I am Usha Pathak. Elders, please accept my respect and love to youngers. We have discussed verb and its classification in part 1 and some details in part 2 of verb. In part 3, we have discussed auxiliary verbs and conjugation of verb in part 4. Now, part 5, I will discuss the ways of conjugation of verbs. Ways of conjugation of verbs. English verbs having but very few inflection to indicate to what part of the scheme of moods and tenses they pertain. It is found convenient to insert in our conjugations the preposition to mark the infinitive personal pronoun to distinguish the person and numbers. The conjugation if to denote the subjunctive mood and the adverb not to show the form of negation. With these addition or indexes, a verb may be conjugated in 4 ways. First, affirmatively, as I write, I do write, or I am writing, and so on. Negatively, as I write not, I do not write, or I am not writing. Third, interrogatively, as write I, do I write, or am I writing? Interrogatively and negatively, as write I not, do I not write, am I not writing? Now, simple form, active or neuter. The simplest form of an English conjugation is that which makes the present and imperfect tenses without auxiliaries, but even in these auxiliaries are required for the potential mood and are often preferred for the indicative as love, loved, loving, loved. Now, infinitive mode. The infinitive mode is that form of the verb which expresses the being, action, or passion in an unlimited manner and without person or number. It is used only in the present and perfect tenses. Now, present tense. This tense is the root or radical verb and is usually preceded by the preposition to, which shows its relation to some other word, thus to love. Now, present perfect. This tense prefixes the auxiliary have to the perfect participle and like the infinitive present is usually preceded by the preposition to, thus to have loved. Now, indicative mode. The indicative mode is that form of the verb which simply indicates or declare a thing or ask a question. It is used in all the tenses. Now, present tense. The present indicative in its simple form is essentially the same as the present indefinite or radical verb, except that the verb be has am in the indicative. The simple form of the present tense is varied in singular and plural, first person, second person, and third person as I love, we love, you love, you love, he loves, they love. This tense may also be formed by prefixing the auxiliary do to the verb in the singular, plural, first person, second person, and third person, as I do love, we do love, you do love, you do love, does love, they do love. Now, imperfect tense. This tense, in its simple form, is the preterite, which in all regular verbs adds d or ed to the present, but in others is formed variously. The simple form of the imperfect tense is varied, thus in singular and plural. I loved, we loved, you loved, you loved, he loved, they loved. This tense may also be formed by prefixing the auxiliary did to the present, thus in singular and plural. I did love, we did love, you did love, you did love, he did love, they did love. Now, perfect tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliary have to the perfect participle, thus in singular and plural. I have loved, we have loved, you have loved, you have loved, he has loved, they have loved. Now, imperfect tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliary had to the perfect participle, thus in singular and plural, as I had loved, we had loved, you had loved, you had loved, he had loved, they had loved. Now, future tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliary shall or will to the present, simply to express a future action or event, in singular and plural, as I shall love, we shall love, you will love, you will love, he will love, they will love. This tense is also used to express a promise, volition, command, or threat, thus in singular and plural, I will love, we will love, you shall love, you shall love, he shall love, they shall love. This tense prefixes the auxiliary shall have or will have to the perfect participle, thus in singular and plural, I shall loved, we shall love, you will have loved, you will have loved, he will have loved, they will have loved. The auxiliary shall may also be used in the second and third person of this tense when preceded by a conjunction expressing condition, as if he shall have completed the work by midsummer. Potential mode. The potential mode is that form of the verb which expresses the power, liberty, possibility, or necessity of the being, action, or passion. It is used in the first four tenses, but the potential imperfect is properly and aroused. Its time is very interminent, as he would be devoid of sensibility were he not generally satisfied. Present tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliary may, can, or must to the radical verb. Thus, in singular and plural, I may have, we may have, you may have, you may love, he may love, they may love. Now, imperfect tense. This tense This tense prefixes the auxiliary might, could, would, or should to the radical verb, thus in singular and plural. I might love, we might love, you might love, you might love, he might love, they might love. Now perfect tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliaries may have, can have, or must have to the perfect participle, thus in singular and plural. I may have loved, you may have loved, you may have loved, you may have loved. He may have loved, they may have loved. Now, pluperfect tense. This tense prefixes the auxiliaries might have, could have, would have, or should have to the perfect participle, thus in singular and plural. I might have loved, we might have loved, you might have loved, you might have loved. He might have loved, they might have loved. Now, subjunctive mode. The subjunctive mode is that form of the verb which represents the being, action, or passion as conditional, doubtful. This mode is generally preceded by a conjunction as if, that, though, lest, unless, except. But sometimes, especially in poetry, it is formed by a mere placing of the verb before the nominative as were I, for if I were, had he, for if he had, fall we, for if we fall, knew they, for if they knew. It does not vary its termination at all. In the different person, it is used in the present and sometimes in the perfect tense, rarely and perhaps never properly in any other, as this mode can be used only in a dependent clause in always relative and generally indefinite. Now, present tense. In this tense is generally used to express some condition on which a future action or event is affirmed. It is therefore considered by some grammarians as elliptical form of the future in singular and plural. If I love, if we love, if you love, if you love, if he love, if they love. Now, imperfect tense. This tense, like the imperfect of the potential mode, with which it is frequently connected improperly and aorist or indefinite tense, for it may refer to time, past, present, and future. Thus, in singular and plural, if I loved, if we loved, if you loved, if you loved, if they loved, if they loved. Please subscribe my channel, like and share with your friends.